same thing if you've ever seen the movie Good Will Hunting. You know, you see that scene where Matt Damon is with Robin Williams, the psychologist, and Matt Damon grew up with the abusive alcoholic dad who kicked the snot out of him. And he would step in the gap between his mom and his sisters and take the beating. Same thing. Will grows up. He's abused, has an abusive father. He turns into an angry young kid, gets in fights all the time, ends up in the counselor's office. And Robin Williams, as a good counselor, says, you know what? You got to understand your past in order to interpret your present. Take me, for example. Alcoholic dad, last of 7 kids. My dad was a ghost. All the behavioral science tells us that when you have a missing dad in the life of a young man or a young daughter, when they grow up, they search to answer the question mark, am I worthy of love? Because there wasn't that time and that touch and that talk from their primary emotional relational former, who is dad, by the way. Not at the expense of the mom, she's important, but all the science tells us that it's the dad that emotionally and relationally forms both young boys and young girls sexually. And so Kenny grows up. Who does he become? Life of the party. Best actor. What question am I trying to answer? Do you like me? Will you accept me? Am I worthy of someone else's attention? You know, dads with daughters, can I tell you something? If you don't have time, touch, talk with that daughter, you know, the first guy that comes along that says, you're pretty, she will give her heart to him in a second. Why? Because she starved for that affection. Okay, so these relationships form issues that present later problems. And you can be surrendered to God, you can be marinating your mind, you can be in relationship with other people, and you can have boundaries. But I still know guys who are committed to those things, and yet their problem persists. It keeps breaking open like a scab that just won't stop bleeding. And when I see a person in that situation, and there's a lot of us, I have to go deeper. I know that there's a brokenness, there's a wound back there that God wants to heal permanently. So it's not a scrape, it's not a cut, it's not a deep cut, it's a big bleeder that requires surgery. You got to go in and get it. And you know, as a pastor, I'm under a responsibility to help guys heal. Now, at the top of your outline there on page 11, it says this. It's God talking to the spiritual shepherds of his people, and he says, and they have healed the brokenness of my people, saying, peace, peace, when there is no peace. That's like, you know, saying to a guy who presents at the trauma room, who's, you know, got a sucking chest wound, here's a Band-Aid. Hey, here's a Band-Aid, have a good day. No, that's not what they do. They look at the wound, they assess the seriousness of it, and then they go in, man, we got to get you into emergency surgery. Now, how does this apply to us? Okay? Well, every man is formed by a family, and every man, because families are imperfect, their family had an influence on them. And here's my point on your next fill-in. Every man must deal directly with the wounds which prevent his progress. I remember